Welcome to the Be Magnetic podcast, where we ignite deep abundance and step into soul-led success without losing joy, freedom, or peace. This is for the woman who is bored, disconnected, and exhausted trying to win a game she doesn't want to play anymore. If your soul is calling for more flow, more ease, more magic, but you're not sure how to get there, get ready to become magnetic and create a life that is as juicy and abundant as you've always dreamed it could be. Hi and welcome back to the Be Magnetic podcast. If you want to change your life, this episode is for you, as we're going to talk about the exact method I use to change my life time and time again. This episode was actually inspired by something my mum said the other day, which was so eye-opening, and I'm sure you know this when we're so basically in the thing, focused on creating the life that we want, we sometimes don't actually notice so consciously, with our entire body, how much has actually changed. I mean, obviously, because you celebrate and you see the changes and successes that take place, but it's this moment of that kind of moment sometimes passes by way too quickly. So anyway, my brothers were here for a festival that we went together. We had dinner together and we were chatting and talking, and I don't exactly remember how we got to that topic, but eventually my mum said, it's so interesting because in Tara's life you can really see how quickly things change and how everything comes together when you put in the focus and when you put in the work. And what she basically was referring to was the fact that over the last 1.5 years, I have so drastically changed my life. And obviously, I try my best to share my vision with my online community, but of course, the people that live with me, the people closest to me, they know my vision in the most depth and detail. And so back in the beginning of 2024, I started talking about how I want to do all the things, right? How I want to, obviously have my husband here, which was still, way before 2024, but that was kind of the first thing that was part of this bigger vision. So that was a big thing that I worked towards. Then this whole conversation around having my stepdaughter here and having her live with us, and this big project. And then obviously the business, the clients and the programs that I want to serve. And then also with wanting to go to more festivals and wanting to go to more in-person events and wanting to host more in-person events and wanting to buy my own house and wanting to buy my own car and all of these different things, right? So this full vision basically. And over the last 1.5 years, bit by bit, this vision has become a reality. And it's so interesting because in retrospect, it actually went by pretty quickly, and there was something manifesting every single month or every other week, really, in a tiny thing that I've been talking about, the trip to Thailand, the trip to Cuba, all these things, right? They've been, bit by bit manifesting. And if you're someone who, if you've got a front row seat to my life, basically, which my mum obviously does, you could see very well how that's exactly what happened, right? I had this vision, I spoke about the things that I wanted to do, and bit by bit, every single month, every other week, some of that part of that vision has been manifesting over the last 1.5 years. And my mom basically said, it's incredible to watch that, because oftentimes people will either not be so open about their vision, and so people won't really notice how their lives have changed because they don't know that how their lives have been before, basically, or they will just their changes will take so long because they're constantly getting distracted and caught up in other things, so that the actual change takes so long. And so I think what surprised my mum there was that the change that happened, the manifestation of the life that I wanted, this massive life shift, actually happened fairly quickly, because I'd probably manifested, if I had to guess like 20 things of the last 1.5 years that were like big goals that I had for my life. And obviously that's huge, right? So that kind of sparked this conversation. And upon my mum saying this, I obviously reflected on like, I had this moment at first, like, yeah, like, yes. um, this is actually true. Like, I'm great. But also, I did reflect upon like how I made it, how I did it basically, because yeah, I do want to give you the wisdom, right? I want to show you how. I am going to show you how in a second. So let's talk about the exact method or the exact things that I've been doing so that bit by bit my vision became reality and the hard work that I've put in actually paid off. So the first thing was to approach this whole thing with this mindset of changing your life is simple. And it's actually simple, right? I mean, a lot of people think, oh, changing my life is so hard. It's going to require so much effort. It's going to be so difficult. And like, I don't even know if it's possible. And that's never the mindset I had, you know. Of course, there's been a time where I felt this way, where I was sort of in victim mode a little bit. But even when I was younger, I've always had this core belief of changing my life and having everything I want is simple. So really simple. And that was, again, the mindset with which I approached this whole pivot year, basically, this big transformation that I went through over the last 1.5 years. And it is really simple because it does only require 4 steps. It only requires you to do 4 specific things aside of having the mindset that it is simple. The first thing that I did was obviously create a clear vision of what I wanted. So I wrote it down, I created my North Star. If you don't have a North Star yet, definitely go create yourself one. A North Star is basically just a list, a piece of paper, a vision board, like some piece where you put on whatever it is that you want to create in your life. So I have put the goals, the dreams, the vision that I had, the things that I wanted to manifest on to this North Star. And I had clear intentions of what I wanted to attract, what the changes that I wanted to make, and how I wanted my life to look like, which was the first massive thing that is required. The second thing was then obviously dedicated action, right? So I've had this North Star, I've had this list, I've had this vision board, and every single day I took some sort of action towards it. Sometimes it's a bigger action, like actually filing the paperwork, or like for the visa, or actually, you know, like booking the festival tickets or whatever. Sometimes it's a more subtle like action, like creating the space to sit with how I want to serve, or the main transformation that I want to transmit in my mentorship programs, to then craft and create this vision of this container that I felt in my body, basically, right? But you gotta take some sort of action. And yes, sometimes there is some energy work that you need to be doing before taking the action. Like when I started to like pursue this vision of holding more in-person things, I actually did have fears and like insecurities around it, and so before I actually could reach out to places to hold the workshops with, I needed to do some energy work so that I could actually find the courage to like go and do this action. So sometimes the action is doing the energy work, and sometimes it's actually like hands down like making the changes, basically. And then the third action that you need to be doing, or the third thing that is part of this method, is to create unshakable trust. Yeah, again, sometimes you don't know how things will play out, or if they will even play out. You sometimes don't know if the work's gonna pay off or how long it's gonna take, and so you need this unshakable trust that it's all gonna eventually work out, right? And especially in times like I was meant to go to a concert last year, but it got cancelled. And so, yeah, of course, I could have like taken on the belief that it's meant to be. I'm not, you know, meant to go to a concert ever, whatever. But I didn't. I decided to trust, to have the faith, and there were new opportunities that came up for me to go to concerts. I'm actually going to 3 festivals this year. So, and this is like probably not a lot for many people, but for me, it's a lot given the fact that I've never been to a festival before. I've already been to, no, it's actually like 4 if you count the like more like yoga-ish festivals. So I've already been to 2 and there's like 2 more coming. So yeah, like you need this trust, you need the faith, you need to like believe that things will rearrange itself even if it doesn't look like it in the moment. Because there will be times where it looks like nothing is coming off of this, and you're gonna push through those. You're gonna carry yourself through those if you wanna manifest your vision fast. And then the last thing that I've done was to lead with spiritual guidance. So instead of saying, I've got it all figured out, I know exactly what I need to be doing, I know exactly how this is going to play out, I instead surrendered and asked for guidance. And I believe that was one of the single biggest things that led to this manifesting so hard, so fast, because I was not distracted by like actions or things that I thought were the right thing but actually weren't the right thing. So instead, every time I didn't know what the next step was, or I didn't know how to overcome a certain obstacle that I faced, I turned to spirit for guidance. And that really helped me to, first of all, clear the energetic blocks really quickly, which allowed me to then move forward with my actions and the things that I needed to be doing way quicker. And secondly, it did give me indication of what the right next step is, where if I wouldn't have had that, I would have probably done other things that I thought were the right thing, but they turned out not to be the right thing. And I kind of like would have taken more detours or got distracted a little bit more. And so just tuning in more for the spiritual guidance has been so incredibly helpful and has been such a massive reason for why this life shift has happened so quickly. And I've actually talked about this with a client recently as well, where basically she asked me how often you can get spiritual guidance, and it depends obviously, but you could technically get spiritual guidance every single day. Sometimes it's good to kind of sit with your own intuition, with your own internal guidance to kind of make decisions. And I would say like it definitely depends on the mindset with which you get spiritual guidance. So if you get spiritual guidance because you are insecure and you don't trust your own decision making, then that's probably not a good foundation. But if you, like I did, use it to quantum leap, to fast forward, to jump over some like roadblocks basically, it can be very helpful to do it very frequently. I had like a dedicated spiritual guidance session channeled from someone else every other week, more or less. And then I also tapped in at least once a week for myself. And that has been very game changing. And then obviously with that, it's also been very powerful for me to just be present with the sensations that are going on, kind of like jumping back to the what I said before with the unshakable trust. It's been so important for me to just hold space for the doubts and the fears. And what's really helped me here was the free 3-part spiritual toolkit that I've created, which carries a anxiety releasing meditation, an energetic protection prior, and an intuition tuning audios. It's linked in the show notes. And then obviously if you do want to have a spiritual guidance session, if you need some more clarity on what's next for you, for your soul path, for this vision that you're holding, you can book a channeled reading. It's also linked below in the show notes. And then I want you to just remember that you can change your life. You have everything you need and you know now exactly how to change it. You just need to follow those 4 steps. Set a clear intention, take dedicated action, build unshakable trust, clear your energy, protect your energy, and then tune in for spiritual guidance, whether that is through your own intuition with the intuition guiding meditation that's part of the spiritual toolkit, or through a channeled reading. Combining both is, I believe, the most powerful, but it's up to you and where you are on your journey. So if you're new here, start with, or like continue, let's say, with episode 48, 39, 31, and 121. They're all powerful episodes where we talk about life-changing lessons that I've learned and affirmations that will help you align to the visions that you're having, and some truths around manifesting your dream life. They're all linked in the show notes below, so if you want to keep listening, go check those out. And if you're been binging a lot and you're ready for the next step, you can DM me channel and I will send you your next step. That being said, I hope you have the best day and I talk to you soon. Bye.